where now they have to choose between banning away the Zeri, banning away the Lucian, leaving up other AD carries. In this case, they get the Zeri, expect the Yuumi probably in the next rotation, Aphelios, Lulu also in the offing as well. I think you probably have to snap up Aphelios plus Lulu, otherwise, if you're FPX, you probably take away the Lulu combination from the side of TT, and then it leaves you in a slightly more awkward situation as Thundertalk.
Yeah, don't really want the Yuumi alongside Aphelios, but actually going to go for that Neeko. We've seen his priority. Lane bullies being banned away in Jason Syndra, but the biggest lane bully of all still wide open. So Ucal locks that in, and I'm curious to see what he can do with his hands on that pick. Over to FPX though, Hacker going to lock in the Moakai. I'm curious what build we get out. We know he's an Abyssal Mask abuser, but do we get the redemption support Moakai build that has been seen in solo?
So I think it's very important to note that a lot of Maokai's like supportive item builds got so much cheaper on this patch, right? So the economy, I mean, you know, generally Moakai, pretty low economy-esque champion anyway, the way the playstyle that you play him in, typically. Now the fact that he's got so much access to so many support items at such a lower cost, you could just see him very happily dip into a lot of support items. And like you mentioned, a lot, Abyssal Mask, the value of the item is just absolutely insane. It was crazy before it was changed for this patch. Anyway, the spots where you could buy it, now it just feels like a must-buy if you can fit it in on occasion. And with Zeri and Yuumi, you're going to have a lot of magic damage to shred as TT throw a Talon ban towards Care. So they know something that we don't very clearly, and they don't want to have to deal with that. We expected the Lulu, and it's coming as well.
Lethality users did get massive buffs.
Oh yeah.
Also, that could actually be a ban towards Hacker. Like, Talon jungle is starting to be a thing again. The Moakai has been seen in top lane in solo queue.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is all very speculative because we've not got a big pool of pro play to pull from in terms of what preferences could be. But Talon could be a mid-lane ban. It could even be a jungle ban, honestly. But the Jack's going to be taken away from Xioalaohu as well. So perhaps not thinking it's the Moakai top.
Yeah, perhaps not thinking it's the Moakai top. Indeed. Just kind of throwing a bit of a, you know, a careful ban. No, oh god, that's unintended pun. No.
That would be Yone if it was a ban for Care, surely.
True. Ucal also a Yone lover. Let's not forget. Viego going to be taken away from Beichuan. Kha'Zix isn't something that we've seen today, but of course we saw a fair amount at MSI. To varying success, it feels like, but the champion's still very much strong. And like you mentioned, with the Lethality items changed and primarily, honestly, buffed in the way that they were, Kha'Zix definitely individually a lot stronger. It's just about whether or not he can fit into team compositions and find the space. And, you know, TT have actually got the room here to potentially R5 something like that. Kha'Zix just depends on what these next two picks are for FPXs. Ksante came in, potentially like for a flex, and Qiyana! Okay!
I'm here for it.
Alright.
Let's go. Care bringing out the Qiyana. Now this is something to witness. We'll have to see how he's going to do in that mid lane. He's up against the Neeko, which is historically a lane bully. Certainly has the range advantage. I'm ready for the mechanics though. I'm ready for Care to show us what he's made of.
I'm ready. I'm very, very ready. And like we were mentioning, with the changes to the Lethality items, generally a lot of the AD assassins at the moment, very, very, very strong. Even though Qiyana did lean on the Prowler's Claw a lot, I think she's okay picking up the new Yomu's Ghost Blade. And speaking of champions, Kindred, I was hoping would be locked in, because I think it could make for a very interesting, not only jungle matchup, but very strong stand your ground pick for TT. It will be the Wukong instead. Could also go over towards things like the Triforce we've seen, like we have previously just seen with the Zeri as well, which I expect that to be the build for Lwx again, that very tanky build, and then at that point you're working with 2 tanks on the top side, a very slippery assassin, and a Zeri with a Yuumi on his back with 3k HP and a whole bunch of life still. So TT, they've got the dive tools to work with, and certainly do have some very limited forms of engage, but if they connect, they should connect, and connect very damn hard. It's just about finding the angles, and I expect FPX will try to look to play a very, very standard front-to-back-esque teamfight composition with Care off in the wings, looking for flank across the finish line to MSI. The rookies for the year really have been phenomenal, and hopefully, like you say, 1xN can continue that trend as we make it onto the Rift for game number 1 of the second series of the day.
Let's see how this one's going to go. You can hear the gyos there for TT. I think stronger gyos for FPX. They do have Lwx in their mix. I know, a bit of a fan favorite over in China. But a very passive start to things. Some deep wards, one on the blue buff, one over towards the Raptors from the side of TT. No deep vision whatsoever on the side of FPX.
None at all. QuiQiu will connect. A little bit of extra poke. Okay, we'll walk back into lane. There's no ping on that ward, so I don't know if they know it's there. But
I think,
like you mentioned,
Care pinged around the area after he got hit, like,
Right.
Just like, I think there's a ward here. Maybe just did the wrong ping, I don't know. But he pinged a bunch in the area anyway. But Hoya should have a little bit of an advantage to start this lane off. Got there first, managed to stack his Q and just get a little bit of a trade onto Xioalaohu, so not a bad start for him. I'm looking at Lwx and Chocho though, like, they've got Yuumi Zeri. I feel like this is the bot lane to get. This is like the bot lane, honestly, with the way it looked earlier on. It looks even stronger than it did before, which is saying something because it was God tier before.
Yep.
Well, let's see what they can do with it.
Yeah, you know, I was joking around in the break, with Kitty saying that I feel like for FPX, one of their core win conditions is just getting Lwx on something like Zeri plus Yuumi, and then ensuring that he gets to a stage later on in the game where he can really carry. I felt like that was always what it felt like it was about for FPX in spring, whether or not Lwx could get to a situation where, you know, he could really try and take over team fights in the later stages, care as well. To kind of be sometimes a bridge, this time around, a much more carry-orientated position with this Qiyana. And you mentioned already, right? The Neeko lane bully pick. Care is going to struggle to CS. He's going to fall behind naturally in this 1v1. But once the level 6 comes in, that's where the kill threat is. And he's going to have to find these windows, perhaps with Hacker, to actually try and extend or build a lead. And then try and actually push it out onto the rest of the map.
Yeah. There can be windows at level 3 in certain matchups for the Qiyana as well once you do get all of your abilities. But generally speaking, I feel like that's more like catching out people that don't know how to play against Qiyana as opposed to like every matchup you go in at level 3. Cat does manage to dodge away from the root, but Ucal, like you said, on this Neeko, he's going to have a whale of a time to start this lane off.
He should. Definitely should. Now, Ucal's running out of mana a bit. He's got biscuits, but definitely wants to probably find a reset soon. Not overextend for too long, right? The worst thing that you could have happen to you in this lane is actually just be killed, like in any capacity, by Care or Hacker, or as a duo combination. There's potential gang.
I don't really think they can go for this. They're basically on the tower, so just going to be a bit of harassment. They will send them back to base, so good early laning coming out from 1xN and yuyanjia, trying to stop the recall as well, but yuyanjia knows if he goes under that tower, he ain't coming back out again. So going to let them go for the recall in the end. 1xN misses the cannon. Nightmare.
Man,
live
we
on
have other rookie AD carries getting pentakills, and then we've got this guy missing cannons on his dick.
SMH. I am SMHing my head right now.
Yeah. Jokes aside, he already has a plate and has a pretty sizable CS lead for the first couple of waves, so definitely having a very, very good opening to this laning phase. As to be expected, it feels like a lot of the time Lulu, typically into Yuumi, it feels like you should be getting the edge in the first couple of waves, right? And with the Calibrum start for the Aphelios, it just means you have a little bit more range than the Zeri, so you have a little more wiggle room in some of those trades. Speaking of wiggle room, or lack thereof, Care is going to have to take a reset as finally he's exhausted his resources.
Yeah, he does have TP, but Ucal has no mana to actually crash this wave, so should be able to get back without really losing too much. In fact, cancels his recall, decides he's going to stick around. Ucal with no mana can't really stop him CSing the wave. And like I said before, with the TP available, should be able to just get back after this one and rejoin the fray. So good stuff from Care to try and stay as even as he can in this lane, although he is pretty sizably behind in CS already. It's over a 10 CS lead in favor of Ucal, who's almost got a tower plate for himself as well.
Yeah, I think Care was maybe waiting for a cannon wave this way. He'll only really miss like one creep because of the wave clear that Neeko has available on this reset. If it was a regular wave, then maybe perhaps you would lose as many as like 3, 4, right? So this feels a little bit better in the immediate, and perhaps was also saving for the Dirk, right? Had a little bit short of that 1.1k mark. Returns to the map with the serrated Dirk, and you know, to some, you would say that's a full build Qiyana. So we'll see exactly what Care can get done now as he crests over level 6. The laning phase, again, will still remain very, very rough, but it's about whether or not you can find the window to maybe assassinate Care or actually just slip out of the lane, maybe give up a bit of CS, but actually look to attack a side lane.
I mean, that's going to be the big thing, right? We've been talking about the difference in the waves as Beichuan. Oh, great little follow-up from Hacker here. LWX straight over the wall. The laser's in, and Beichuan is donezo. First blood for LWX on the Zeri.
Yeah, that was so sweet from Hacker there. Lockdown, super easy, and then Beichuan, no running away, as LWX is able to just get to the mark sooner. Doesn't even have to do a flash, just uses the ghost to get over there, touch faster. And now that's a kill in the Zeri's back pocket. And, you know, passingly joked about how we want LWX to be in a position where he's, you know, a little bit accelerated, has those items on the Zeri just a bit sooner than what 1xN can have available to him on the Aphelios. That first blood definitely going to set him on the right track.
Certainly is. Great little start there for LWX. Like you say, after how the laning phase has been going so far, it's a good little kind of redemption almost. I feel like redemption seems too strong. Like he wasn't that far behind.
Pick me up is probably the best way, you know?
Yeah, he's chugged a Warhorse. I will say, Warhorse, pretty good, by the way. We had it for free at Finals China. Obviously, a sponsor on the Chinese side. It's actually great. It's flat, which I didn't expect. Weird first sip, but I enjoyed it. I did a lot of damage to my insides, chugging it all weekend. LWX taking massive damage, and that's going to be an exhaust proc there. Nice little bit of an all-in coming out from 1xN and yuyanjia. Beichuan, he wants to punish that fact.
Yeah, this is potentially dangerous now because the level 6 ticked over from the Dragon Take. They see him on the vision, but he can still just attack this. He can follow up below the flash of LWX. Yeah.
There we go. Flash burn. LWX needs to be cautious. He's going way too far forwards for this one. It is a 2v1, but Beichuan happy to go for it. Beichuan, I think he's gone too deep on this one. Oh no! He actually gets it! How has he pulled that one off? Care now arrives on the scene. Go for yuyanjia, but doesn't have the damage to finish it off. And everything looking good for TT. Care slowed down, flashed on the Gravitum. Not quite in play. And it means they can't follow up with another Calibrum. Ucal, or should I say, yeah, Ucal. I thought the name had changed with the Herald glimmer. Trying to walk on forwards.
Oh, the Herald. Look at the Herald patience bar here. This is so... it just has to reset.
This is janky. This is janky. He gets knocked back on the all-out. He gets the eye. They actually pulled it off. Xioalaohu now trying to escape. And he will just about flash at the last second. I'm pretty sure it was Ucal.
It was TT. My good...
So he all-outs Hacker away, and then Ucal hits the eye. That was cracked.
What? Riot? No, I have to be a Twitch chat for a minute. Riot? What? No. Normally in those kind of situations, the Herald patience bar would just kind of hard reset, right? It would just send it back into the pit.
I think it's because Hacker's hanging out around the pit.
It's
because he went back
I think
to
that's
the
exactly what it is.
I think, and it reset the bar. I think.
Yeah, so there's no, like, you know, when you take jungle camps now, there's the marking on the floor to show you where the patience will expire. That technically should exist for the Herald, right? It's just invisible, unlike the rest of the jungle camps. I think you're right. I think because Hacker was standing where he was, it was just releashing it and actually regenerating the patience bar. But that is, and I think that is so unique. You do not see that.
I feel like that was intentional from Hacker as well. When you look at his positioning where he was playing, like it looked like he'd moved back there to wait DPS on the Herald so he can move back in and smite, right? Like, that looked like that was the plan, but Ksante exists, gets all out and out of the play, and denied his potential opportunity. And I will say, Ucal, fantastic start to the split, right? 30 CS lead with an assist there as well. He's got 2 plates already and now can slam a Herald for a third. Like, it really couldn't be going much better for Ucal.
Yeah, good early start here. Beichuan
Haka wants revenge here. Final chapter across the team as well. They've not even hurt FPX just yet.
Oh my
It's the clone knocked back as Lwx Zeri tries to escape Moonlight Vigil for sustain, and he will keep going for the time being. Knocked back by Haka though, and they don't quite have the damage. There we go. And now LWX has to sweep up. Here comes Ucal, but can he get there in time? LWX is going to slide over the wall. This could be aggressive.
Thinking about it.
Goes the other way, gets to the blast cone, and has care to get him out.
Yeah, he didn't want to flip it. He didn't want to give over his shutdown to Ucal because he's so strong already. Decides to not commit for yuyanjia. Will just make it out with his life. But still, so happy to pick up those 2 kills. Now 4 and 1. We'll clear out this wave, likely reset, and I think should very clearly have that Triforce ready to go. Very expensive mythic, right? You have to remember it's significantly more gold than other AD carry items at the moment, especially with so many AD carries rushing the Storm Razor, which is, by comparison, almost 800 gold cheaper.
Yeah.
Still has it in tow already, as you'll just get a preview look at how Lwx has navigated this fight. Of course, started off with Beichuan trying to clear out this ward, even though he gets knocked up 3 times. The healing from the Yuumi ult just keeps him alive, and he's able to just pepper in these Qs with the ultimate. 1xn does a pretty good job of healing up, and I will say credit to actually clean up Haka going in, committing for his life, but again, the focus going on towards Haka. No one's hitting Lwx.
Yeah.
He's able to just clean up.
I think the big thing there, honestly, was just... I don't think Haka realized quite how many minions were there. Lwx was hitting minions for a huge portion of that fight, because it was like a double stacked wave there, so had there been less minions, that's probably a much cleaner win for Lwx, and maybe Haka survives as well. But regardless, even with Haka going down, it's still a massive win, honestly, for the side of FPX. Lwx on 4 kills, Triforce finish, Ghostblade finish now for Care as well. You know, Haka's on 1 item too. Like, this is all feeling fantastic.
Yeah, definitely is. I'm
actually
actually very curious about...
I'm not sure how, but they're behind.
Huh.
It's just CS leads in mid and in top. Like, Ucal got 3
guess.
plates, right? Plus a bunch of CS.
I guess. Yeah. Plate's really important, right? You have to remember it's almost 200 a pop, 175. So 700 gold out of those plates alone feels really good. FPX will pick up the 2nd dragon of the game. What I wanted to mention very briefly is what you do see out of a lot of assassins is normally the Muramana, right? That tier. Elected Care here to just kind of give it up. This is an engage from Haka, but it should dissipate. Nothing should actually occur. There you go.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah, elected to actually skip over that. So just looking for more raw as soon as possible.
Yeah. It's an attempted punish as well from Haka there after the plate going down in the mid lane. That's 4 in the mid lane as Hoya pulls Xioalaohu out, wants the all out. Won't be able to find the kill though, Xioalaohu just ulting himself to safety. But look at the plates at the top side as well. 3 plates taken by Hoya, has a very one-sided matchup for himself, and he is a beauty.
He is very happy to scale up here on the top side, even if he can't, you know, inherently punish the 1v1. Always knows that as long as he's staying, you know, at parity with the rest of the game, his job, Hoya, will just be to get on top of the Zeri and try and assassinate or just make their life really, really miserable in the team fights.
I wish I could see gold diff between AD carries right now, because with the big CS lead that 1xn has, and also the fact that they took, I think, 3 plates in the bottom side as well, like, this is just a straight-up plate diff across the map. Like, 1xn might be on a similar amount of gold. I think it'll be slightly behind, but honestly, not a lot. Like, 4 kills versus 1 kill, 3 plates, and a 20 CS lead.
I think it's really deceptive. I actually think Lwx is quite far ahead, because items,
I guess, yeah, if you actually look at
the items are so expensive.
That's true.
That, yeah, like the items are so expensive. Like, I 100% see what you're saying. And at first glance, it's very easy to be like, yeah, you're right. I forgot! No way. No way this works, right? No. They were...
He's moving.
Oh, wait.
He's moving around as a control one at the brush. Like, I feel like I'm watching people play prop hunt here. This is pro prop hunt at this point.
I wonder if you're a ward in a bush, does the Moakai sapling still detect you? This is science I need to learn, hopefully from this game.
I think it does, yeah. Like, you still interact as a champion, even if you're pretending not to be.
Right.
But it wouldn't reveal you, it would just proc on you, so... If
Which
they
I
happen
guess is
to
the
not
same.
be looking at their screen, then you can get away with it. FPX starting the Herald here, Care jumping over the wall,
it's dead.
TT are here to contest, Herald's down, Hoya on the wrong side of the plate, but dashes out to safety for now. Perhaps could find an all-out opportunity to set the rest of his team up. Nobody moving over the wall just yet. They're aware of that ultimate. They're aware of the danger of that situation. But FPX, they get a Herald and they walk away.
Yeah, they didn't want to give him the escape angle out and maybe even donate their life over, right? Here's the engage from Hacker. And 1xN.
Whoa! Where did 1xN go? Just obliterated, and the knockbacks come on through. FPX are decimating this fight. Ucal turns it around a little bit, but not enough. As Lwx charging through, annihilating health bars. Beichuan just jumps over the wall in time. Xioalaohu has gone too deep as well. It's absolute carnage once again.
It's a bloodbath. Xioalaohu, yeah, sure, gives over his life, but man, 1xN got deleted. That was absurd. Sion ult into Zeri. He just died. Absolutely obliterated. And beyond that, FPX happy to just go forward. Hacker sets it all up just by pressing R, and at that point, TT always have to be on the retreat. It feels like if you get caught out in the mid lane like this, it's just so difficult to ever walk out. I mean, where does this damage? It's Sion ult plus Moakai, which he could.
I thought Zeri was a scaling thing.
Apparently Zeri's possessing, guys.
Yeah, I think that was just like a Q and a zap
was
auto with Triforce. Like,
did something else come? Like, was it just
well,
all
I mean,
of
it was
her blast at the
Xioalaohu
same
with his
time?
ult and his shield pop, right? I mean, Hacker's
yeah.
ult did way more damage than I would have expected it to anyway off the bat, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure what XZ is also like clicking on his death cap, like, what the hell happened to me?
Yeah. Well, punished, TT were still, nonetheless, right? Like, 1xN was always going to die there. It was just a question of how fast. And I don't feel like any of us expected it to be that quick.
Yeah, I mean,
as a Herald now.
Lwx
is here
looking for a Guinness World Record at this point, to be honest. Like, that was something else. Hoya just about dashes away. Herald does finish off the mid-tier 1. Drake coming up in 15 seconds, though. And the gold is still slightly in favor of TT, despite that fight. Despite the fact Lwx is a 2-item Zeri with a Triforce. At just 18 minutes into the game, they are actually behind. Oh, gold care. They're stuck behind enemy lines! And the combo is there. 1xN has nowhere to go, but he's still going. He's still alive somehow. The sustain is unbelievable, and 1xN survives it.
Oh, it's the red gun ultimate there from 1xN that keeps him alive. Great use of the Chemtech Soul map. Blast cone. There you go. Got there in the end. It's just that extended range gets him in to the back line. Gets his flash. Doesn't get the kill, which definitely feels a little bit bad, but the objective's still going to be secured here by FPX. So, play, definitely a winning one, and TT caught unawares by that blast cone.
Yeah, that was absolutely fantastic from Care. I thought he was going to blast everyone the other way, try and make a play towards the dragon there, but really focusing on making sure he hits 1xN.
Yeah, and Chain CC comes in. Shield, lost that ultimate from 1xN, just keeps him up and running. And there's not enough burst damage. 2 or 3 times there. 1xN drops below 100 HP. Still manages to stand up by the end of it.
So Hoya will finish off the tower in the bottom side. He's 2-0-1 so far this game. Like, a really, really solid performance from him. Like, remember, that combo from him and Ucal, that was all Hoya, setting that up with the all-out onto Hacker earlier on in the game. And doing a lot to disrupt these team fights as well. Almost solo killing earlier on Xioalaohu too. Like, really, really solid game. I mean, the fight, it's 2.5 fights for Lwx. We're less than 20 minutes in. That is an absurd amount of gold on a Zeri. I'd really love to look at the numbers there. I'd really love to. But 2 items finished off for 1xN as well. So he is going to be hitting hard himself. That Aphelios is certainly nothing to sniff at.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's different kind of damage
that
sometimes.
Is if he gets to auto-attack in one of these fights anyway.
Well, that's also true. Yeah, you know, he kind of has to do that thing that a lot of AD carries, you know, main the role to do, which is right-click, unless you play Zeri, in which
I was going to say except Zeri.
Guess you're pressing Q to auto-attack. Yeah, he has had definitely a bit of a rough time of it in the mid-game. So mostly in part, honestly, to FPX's ability to just find him out.
Yeah, and Xioalaohu's ability to find him as well. Like, Xioalaohu's been on it with these ultimates.
Yeah,
I've got a question for you though, Jamada.
Go for it.
Sorry, go on. You go.
No, that's fine. Hit me the question.
If most AD carries auto-attack, but Zeri has to press Q every time. Does that make it a manual attack?
Yes.
Cool. Problem solved. It's just like a car. If it changes gears by itself, it's an auto. Well,
yeah.
it's the same with auto attacks.
You can imagine,
if
right?
you have to do it yourself,
the
it's a manual attack.
passive auto attacks are like gear shifts, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Kind of. A little bit. Sometimes.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if that catches on. I've got a feeling it won't. As we just see everyone clearing up. Look at the gold, though. Dead even between these two teams. It's literally only 300 in favor of FPX. But they do have the 2 drakes, so that's the big advantage. And also they have all of that gold funneled into their Zeri. Whereas Hoya, I think, has quite a sizable chunk of the team's gold for TT, which, you know, is fine. Like, certainly having tanky items on a Ksante is going to do wonders for you. But whether or not it's going to have the same throughput as having that gold onto 1xN on the Aphelios, that's a different question.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Ksante always will just be, can he achieve his job? His job being just try and burn Lwx, right? I think the fact that Chocho's always going to be there with the exhaust and pretty much, you know, attached to Zeri 99% of the time. This is the 1% where he's on Hacker right now, just because Lwx wanted to collect the wave, but soon will join his partner in crime again. Will he be able to get through all of those, you know, all of those tools whilst providing the space for 1xN to actually get through the front line? I think even though he's overstepped once or twice and been punished very heavy-handedly, I think he's probably learned his lesson this time around. And now with the Gale Force on top of, you know, Flash Cleanse and having the Lulu, should be a lot safer than he was in the previous sequence of plays.
I do want to quickly mention an item that's been picked up as well. Care has actually gone for the Serpent's Fang, which not an item that we see super often, but look at the comp he's against. This item is cracked in this situation. Hoya, nothing but shields. Ucal, massive shield with his ultimate, and yuyanjia will be shielding permanently onto his team. So
yeah,
that's actually a fantastic pickup for Care. Like, the value he'll get out of the Serpent's Fang should be phenomenal.
It's really good, and also I think it's important to know that Hoya will eventually likely go towards the Gargoyle Stone plate as a third item. It's very, very common on the Ksante, so that's also going to be something that preemptively he's built for as well. If he's, I beg your pardon, ever attacking Hoya, that's going to be something that's going to come in and feel really, really nice. So yeah, like you mentioned, it's really just built to get through that overheal shield, make sure it never comes back into fruition again in a fight. It's wide out Care this time, so unfortunately he won't have as optimal a flank as perhaps he would have liked, but he still enjoyed the idea, and actually he could be getting collapsed on and still know he's here.
And this is Ucal. That's a lot of damage if Care goes that way. Knocked up by the Cyclone. Flashes into enemy territory. Beichuan flashes after him. Just going to be knocked back. The ult hits onto 1xN, but Xioalaohu just face plants into the wall. So 1xN's fine. Ucal, I mean, Care getting out of this one. Ucal with a big knock up, but taking damage himself. His Lwx trying to get this damage off. Care is there to finish Ucal off, and now Hoya on the front line, buying space. Xioalaohu flashes out safety. Hoya, next target. Look at the cleave coming out from Lwx. He's just churning through the health bars, lightning flying everywhere, and FPX dominate the fight.
Yeah, FPX just run them over. And now that the Hydra is completed, I like to call this one the lawnmower build. Joe, as he's just cutting them down. It's really, really difficult for TT to get on top, and it has to be Hoya, or it feels like it's just going to be free reign for Lwx. It starts off with a pick, and I have to give credit to Care for buying so much time, right? Xioalaohu forgets for a second that his ultimate actually can't go through walls, and does hit it face first, but at the end of the day, it's all about this, right? This step forward here, blowing the flash as well of yuyanjia on the backside, whilst you can see a lot of space being bought on time by Xioalaohu, whilst the rest of the team catches up, and sure, almost gives his life up, but eventually once Lwx actually starts attacking the front line, they start losing their life quite quickly.
Yeah, I feel like there's that moment at the end there where Ucal is alone, turned golden with everybody sat on top of him. He's like, you're probably wondering how I got here. Like, it looked like such a positive play for him at the start of things, but really creative flash coming out from Care, the ultimate to set his team up to win the fight. Then he gets back around to flank Ucal, who was the original flanker. There was levels of depth to that play.
The layers, Joe. So many layers. And, you know, I would also like to just kind of point out that normally I would meme a Chemtech Dragon, but when you've got Yuumi Zeri, the individual ones are pretty annoying, and honestly, you have so much HP that you might not get one shot. So the soul actually feels really good if FPX can get it. To a point where I feel like it might actually push them over the edge. Care, like you mentioned. Well, which one's the real one?
Oh my god. He's actually got away with it.
Oh,
there is
man.
a ward where Ucal stood, but other than that, okay, he's going to be spotted now.
Yeah.
So his position is given away. He knows it as well as he will clear the ward. Xioalaohu being the front line, being the bouncer. They know Care's behind them, but does it matter if they know? He's going to get a huge ultimate here, but no! Ucal's Zonya's it, everyone else dodges it. Hoya pulls him into the pit, but that ain't a 1v1 that he wins because it's a 2v1. And Lwx just going to be stacking off of him. Lwx, in fact, not even used his ultimate. There we go. Time for Lwx to pop off, flash away, cleanses, keeps himself alive. That cat on his shoulder, doing everything. We've had one pentakill today, and it's a quadra coming out from Lwx. He wants yuyanjia, but he's not going to find him.
Oh, the blood was in the water. Couldn't you see it from the double kill? It was looking like it could have been the second pentakill of the day.
Not a smidge of emotion
for Lwx
there.
I know, man. Just
cold as ice.
Man, oh man. They will pick up this Baron off the back of that team fight. And I think at this point, the game is likely very close to finish for TT. Feels like the avenues to come back in are pretty damn limited. The items are starting to be a little bit too overbearing. And with this Baron buff, you imagine the sieging power going to be just a bit too much. Chocho even picks up the Mikhails just in case Lwx ends up being stunned up in some capacity. Get the replay look here as does actually walk face first into this W here and actually kites into a position where he can be all out away from his team, but does he care? No, he's got a Yuumi on his back with exhaust and heal, and look how quickly the rest of FPX come and collapse on the rest of the team, and as soon as this dash over the wall reveals how exposed the rest of the team is, it just emboldens Hacker to go in, disrupt the backline, and even though the dive return from TT looks pretty good and they come close to taking down Lwx. Too many shields, too much healing. There's an engage now in the mid lane. Maybe they get him this time.
Yuyanjia wild growths himself, but he goes down anyway. Ucal with a triple knock-up, a triple stun, but is it enough? 1xn can't get the damage in, but he's still surviving. The sustain is there. Oh, Care arrives at the last possible second. Saves the day. The triple kill for Care's Qiyana. And that might just be game.
Zeri has to be permabanned for the rest of the split, Joe. It's so damn nasty, man. Goes into the GA, spit out so much damage, but it's Care who comes in and crosses the T's and dots the I's on the game one of series number 2 of the day. FPX will take game number 1 happily, and TT are going to have to dig a little bit deep.
Oh my god. That's not okay. That is not okay. Well, wow. I don't know if anyone else knew it, but I am officially of the opinion that Zeri is a very strong champion in League of Legends, and Yuumi might also be slightly problematic. I feel like when we were watching that big replay of the massive fight around Baron as well, like, Lwx played pretty disrespectfully, honestly. Like, he got caught multiple times. He walked into the all-out to get 1v1, and then he walked into the big combo out of vision, and he still just walks away with like a, what was it, a quadra kill in the end? Like,
yeah,
that says everything you need to know about the state of Zeri and Yuumi right now.
No, Zeri Yuumi's balanced, man. It's fine. No, it's really okay. I'm sure AD carries aren't just sweeping up all of their LP right now on live. It's okay. All right, jokes aside, as we know, I'm the CEO of AD Carry Hate. Yeah, I mean, it was still a very, very phenomenal game from FPX. I think generally their ability to play around their assassin, tank, mage, DPS. Am I missing any? Don't think I am.
No, I think that's good. Yeah.
No, I think that's all of them. Was really, really powerful. And it was a little bit too much for TT to deal with. It was only really Hoya that could try and lock down the Zeri to then maybe give room for the likes of Ucal to come in and actually find the knock-up with the ultimate. But we never really saw that combination come through. And honestly, a couple of times it got to a point where it felt like he was just face tanking the Neeko ult anyway, so who cared? Like, yeah, just way too much gold. I think that skirmish on the bottom side really broke the game, right? Where Lwx got, I think it was 2 extra kills on a play where he didn't really deserve to even maybe get away. Yeah, at that point, 4-on-1, walking out of a Triforce whilst the first item hadn't even been completed by 1xn. It just felt like a bit too much of a mountain to climb back up for TT.
And it's kind of tough for TT, because when you look to that early game, TT was sort of lane gapping across the board, right? We had, was it, 3 plates at least taken in every single lane? Like, massive individual advantages. LWX was massively ahead individually. It was like 6-1 at one point, and was still like, the team was still behind in gold. Like, that says a lot about the advantages that TT were able to get during the laning phase. Wasn't enough. Simply wasn't enough for them. And I mean, FPX in those team fights looking fantastic, and clearly understanding the meta. I think that's the big thing, right?
Yeah,
like,
I think that this is one of those weird games where, like, I don't inherently feel like TT's draft was, like, terrible or, like, unplayable. But I just feel like they didn't have Zeri Yuumi. And they didn't really have consistent ways to kill the Zeri Yuumi on the opposite side, you know? And sure, they have Aphelios with the Lulu, but it felt like, to me, sure, lane leads are great, but we're still in a team fighting meta, right? And if those pieces aren't connected together in a very coherent manner, and very quickly, in this case, to actually shut down something like the Zeri plus the Yuumi, you're just going to get run over. And, you know, again, like you said, they held a very consistent lead for a majority of this game. But team fighting is still what matters around the objectives, right? The first 20 minutes doesn't mean jack squat if you get picked off once or twice and then you lose a Baron, right? And I think that's what we came to the realization of at MSI, and it felt like TT probably came to that realization about 21 minutes into this game. So perhaps they tried to shift things up and move towards a slightly more team fight geared team composition with a little less nuance, right? I think that's the key thing, because for FPX, the comp kind of drives itself, right? Sure, you've got Care off on the side, but it kind of just does the job. Sion presses R, Moakai presses R, and then LWX murders whoever's in front of him. That's it. With TT, there's more to it, right? There's more moving pieces at the same time, and in some cases moving in different directions. And I think if you remove that nuance, you typically just have a much easier time, I think, exposed in the team fighting department. But still, the laning phase is something that they should walk away comfortable moving into game 2, knowing that they should have a fair amount of advantages with.
Yeah, definitely. I think part of it as well is, like, if you're... I don't inherently hate the idea of playing into Zeri Yuumi. I think it's hard, but there are ways to beat it, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like Vi-Ari, these kind of combos that can really set up a big pick and find that moment to assassinate. But it didn't feel like they had the tools to do that. So, tough one coming out here. And FPX, fantastic start to things. Fantastic start to this one. Care bringing out the Qiyana, first of his career. I'd love to see it. We're going to jump into a break, and then we'll be back with game number 2 to find out